So I've already confirmed that I am recording with this microphone in front of my face rather than the one on my laptop, which is what happened when I did the last podcast about the solar eclipse in Libra in the beginning of the month. So we should be good. So in this podcast, I'm going to talk about the lunar eclipse, which is coming up here on October 28th. It'll be in the sign of Taurus at 5 degrees, 3 minutes, and it's taking place at around 1:23 p.m. here in the Pacific Northwest. So you can orient yourself appropriately to where you are in the world according to that. And so I'm going to go ahead here and pull up the chart so I can discuss what energies we can expect here with this lunar eclipse. So here is a look at the chart of the lunar eclipse. And so a lunar eclipse is going to be, so how does that differ from a solar eclipse? A solar eclipse is more, think of a solar eclipse as more in your face, just like the sun. It's more masculine energy. It's going to be a tangible, external, typically external. It could be external is always representing the internal. So it could be something that boils up within inside of you that makes you make a change, or it could be an external event that comes into your awareness where you're forced to make a change. There's a change that needs to happen. With the lunar eclipse is more subtle. It's more underneath the surface, and it's usually preparing you. It's like a preparatory period for the next solar eclipse. So here we have the lunar eclipse in Taurus. Typically, what happens when you have a lunar eclipse is the next solar eclipse is in that same sign. Not always, and in this case, it's not going to be that way. We're going to have this lunar eclipse in Taurus, and then next year, I believe in March, don't quote me on that, I think it's towards the end of March, we're going to have a solar eclipse in the sign of Aries. So this means that there's a preparation for that Aries solar eclipse next year. So what is the energy of this eclipse? What can we expect? What may happen subtly? What may happen overtly? It depends on where you're at and how you are navigating this energy. So the first thing from your perspective, if you wanted to really fine tune it in terms of your experience, is to look at your chart. Where is 5 degrees Taurus in your chart? What house? What sign? Are there any personal planets there? If there are, you're probably going to feel this more acutely than somebody else. Just in general, even if you don't have planets that are close to 5 degrees Taurus, what house and sign? That's going to be an area where there's this subtle energy that's going to be building up, and it's going to be helping you. It's an energetic time to help you lay a firm foundation for the solar eclipse that's upcoming. So with this one here at 5 degrees Taurus, it's obviously Taurus, it's ruled by Venus. It's all about you. It's all about how you support yourself. It's all about the things you surround yourself with. It's earth energy. So it likes stability. It likes to be grounded. Literally think of the earth like, how can I live my existence in alignment with nature is what I'm getting here for this lunar eclipse. And it is blending energy somewhat with Jupiter. Jupiter is 6 degrees away. So I feel there's a little bit of an influence here with Jupiter. And if you listen to the podcast I did on the solar eclipse, that was part of a larger Saros cycle, which was ruled by Sagittarius, which Sagittarius, the ruler of Sagittarius, is Jupiter. So it's almost like a continuation off of this solar eclipse. And so now it's focused on the Taurus energy, which could be tied to the money you make. It could be tied to your career. It could be tied to your home. It could be tied to even just things like your aesthetics and how you present yourself and the clothes that you wear. and the things and people that you associate yourself with. So all of those themes come up. And now we overlay a little bit of Jupiter on top of that, which is how can I expand this space that I'm in? So think about this time period from now until next year, March of next year. How can I expand this space? How can I get more of, how can I align more with what I value? Taurus. The other thing here is this is part of a Capricorn-led Saros cycle. So if you didn't listen to the solar eclipse, just to touch on that a bit, every eclipse that we have is part of a larger cycle. And so whatever eclipse started that cycle, whatever sign it was in, that energy carries through to all of the eclipses that come after it. So this one is led by Capricorn. Capricorn is structure. Capricorn's how do I create a good structure? What beliefs do I have? What environments am I putting myself in? And so there's another aspect here that's going to get tied into Saturn, which I'll cover a little bit more, but just for right now, think about that. Think about those archetypes. Think about for yourself, my values, how I make money, the things I surround myself with, how does that get expanded in a way that helps me at this point in my life? How do I create a new structure that will be of benefit for me moving forward into next year, into that Aries solar eclipse? And if you think about Aries ruled by Mars, doing things that you need to do, that you feel called to do, meaning I need to have a good, firm foundation in order for me to be able to do those things. So again, look at your chart. Where's Taurus? Where's 5 degrees? What sign is it in? That will give you some more information. The other thing here is Jupiter, which is somewhat blending energies with this lunar eclipse, is almost directly opposing Mercury, which is in the sign of Scorpio. And Mercury is blending energies with Mars in Scorpio. So you have this. So Jupiter is exactly opposing Mars at 11 degrees Scorpio, and Mars is blending energies with Mercury. What needs to be said is really what pops into my head there. And Scorpio is in depth. We need to get into deeper conversation. So I really see this from a conversational perspective, and I see this from the people that you're deeply connected with. So you tell me who that is, or you can think of who that is for you: family members, people that you work with, that you see on a daily basis, partners, sexual partners, people that you blend energy with. And so Mercury and Mars in the mix in the sign of Scorpio, it's laying this foundation again, right? Think about that, laying this foundation of strong communication, possibly going deeper, possibly Mars is always a representation of separating. If you need to separate a little bit from certain people to give yourself more space, Taurus, so that you can get back into your own self and maybe disconnect from any energies that are impacting you in a way that is affecting your foundation, Taurus. So that can certainly be part of this energy here with this lunar eclipse. And then because this is a Taurus eclipse, we look at Venus, which is the ruler of Taurus. And we say, okay, well, where is Venus? So Venus is in the sign of Virgo. Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So we blend the archetypes of Scorpio and Virgo together. Scorpio likes to go deep. It likes to go get penetrating. It likes to go underneath the surface of things, figure things out, understand, or ask the question why and get answers to it. Venus in Virgo is making those adjustments. It's really focusing on the details and saying, okay, this is a little bit out of place and it needs to move over here. This can be from a relationship perspective, or this just can be from a mental standpoint. where you have certain thoughts or beliefs about things or your environment or your Taurus energy, things you think about yourself, things you think about the structures that you're in, the people that you're associating with. And so Virgo is saying, hey, let's adjust things, right? If we're going to go deep in these conversations, or we're going to really understand the why of some of the things that aren't really helping us in some ways, how can we make the adjustments to make it better? And so the aspects that Venus have are, there's a septile to this Mars and this Mercury. So a septile for me is, it's beyond this reality, it's higher dimensions. It's more, if you think about connecting to your guides and the spirit realms and your higher self and your intuition, it's things that happen and you're like, how did that happen? Or things kind of shift and adjust, and they're not a product of you sitting down and figuring it out. So when I see this aspect, maybe there is some type of adjustment or some kind of thing or shift in reality that takes place, maybe now, but between now and next year, when we have that solar eclipse in Aries, where in relationships, because certainly we have Mars and Venus, which are the symbols of relationships, and then you throw Mercury in the mix, maybe there is some communication that takes place where you're like, have this oh shit moment, or oh wow, or oh my lord, I didn't see this coming. That could certainly be part of the energy here that gets seeded at this time of this lunar eclipse. And so it could happen, like I feel the energy of it may happen like around the time of this lunar eclipse. And so think of what I'm getting here is, again, the people close to you, and maybe you have a conversation with somebody else that's maybe an acquaintance, or maybe you're sitting at a restaurant and you overhear somebody's conversation, and what they say directly relates to your situation, and it gives you this oh crap moment, or gives you clarity in terms of something that you are trying to figure out within a relationship. Or what I'm getting to is there could be this healing type communication that comes through that helps you tremendously in terms of a relationship that you may have been engaged with, or a relationship you're currently engaged in, or potentially a new relationship where you're trying to orient yourself with that individual. And so that's what I'm getting here. It's almost like what I'm getting is a Cleton, which is what I would just describe, where you're in somebody's presence, or you overhear a conversation, or you actually see a sign like a billboard, and that message hits home, and you're like, whoa, I got it, right? That's like a message from the universe. That's like a septile aspect, which is what I'm seeing here. So the other aspects with Venus, there is an opposition to Neptune, but I'm going to get into that a little bit further here in a second. Then there's the supportive aspect here to Uranus in Taurus, and Uranus is similar type energy, or could be similar type energy to what I just described, where you just get things that hit you quickly. And Uranus has been hanging out in Taurus. It's currently retrograde. And so think of a return, or things coming from the past, or epiphanies from the past, things that just come into your awareness that really help with the foundation energy, with the Taurus energy, with the creativity, with your relationships, with your finances, with the way you support yourself, those type of things. And then there's an inconjunct here with Chiron in Aries. And so this is helping to lay a foundation for the Aries solar eclipse. So what I get here with this aspect is more of a removal. So removal of yourself from anything that is not helping you take the action that you feel you need to take. If you have been part of environments or part of even relationships where you feel a little bit restricted, or you feel like you can't express yourself in a certain way, Or this could even be, I'm getting this in career or your job, where you feel like this really isn't, this isn't ticking all the boxes. It's becoming, it's getting to a point where there needs to be a change here because I literally can't take it anymore. Those are the words that are coming through to me. And so this time period, I'm getting this more of the time period is from now until the beginning of next year, where things start to shift within your reality, maybe within relationships, where adjustments start being made so that when that solar eclipse hits or into next year, when that energy of March hits next year, or just, I'm not even getting March, just going into next year, like January, February, March into 2024, what I'm getting more so is in 2024, you will, these adjustments that are going to be made now towards the end of the year into the early part of next year are allowing you to put yourself into a situation where relationship wise, career wise, you are now able to authentically express yourself and feel supported in doing that and feel like you're in a good, stable environment. And then just hitting on that Pisces energy here, I'm going to go back to the moon here and look at the aspects of the moon because I feel like there's the square to Pluto in Capricorn, which Capricorn is ruling this eclipse. But I also get there is a square here. It's not being shown in my software program, but a square here to Saturn, which is the ruler of Capricorn in Pisces. So that's where I was getting this Piscean energy coming into it, which is more, what I was getting there is more space, getting more space, and also being in a place where you're more spiritually aligned, you're more emotionally fulfilled, you're able to be in a position where you feel like you're able to express your energy in a more authentic way is the energy here that I'm getting. And when there's a square, that usually means tension. And tension is an energy that we receive to help us to continue to move forward. So here it's adjusting our reality, which could cause a little bit of tension. Certainly, when you talk about Taurus energy and Scorpio, they're both fixed signs. When they get into an environment or they commit to something, whether that's a career or a relationship or you name it, when that type of energy, Scorpio and Taurus, commits to something, they like stability. They like to stay with it. And sometimes they will stay with it beyond the point of it being useful. And so tension comes in to say, hey, there needs to be a little bit of tension here because for your evolution, there needs to be a change. You need to move on. And so that's kind of the energy that I'm getting here with these squares to Pluto in Capricorn and Saturn in Pisces. So Pluto is moving direct again, and Saturn at the beginning of November is going to be going direct as well. So what I'm getting there is, again, towards the end of this year, think of now the end of October, November, December, probably into January a little bit as these symbols start to move and go into new territory, into new degrees in their direct motion, then we start to really see the tangible results. But right now is the energies that I just described. And then I'm going to flip over here and we're going to touch on the Sabian symbol here for both this 5-degree mark in Taurus and the 18-degree mark in Virgo, which Taurus is ruled by Venus. So that holds the energy here as well. So here is that Sabian symbol for the 5-degree Taurus mark, and it's a bridge being built across a gorge. So when I saw this, I was literally, the messages that were coming through that I've given here is like, this is the bridge. The bridge here is this lunar eclipse in Taurus, and I see this bridge metaphorically extending into next year, into January, into February, into March. This bridge being laid by you in terms of putting yourself in situations and relationships, in situations that are helping to align you more with you. That's the time period here, or the symbolic energy of this lunar eclipse here in Taurus. And then we go to the placement of Venus, which Venus is at 18 degrees Virgo. And so here's the Sabian symbol for that, a swimming race. And what I got here is the refinement piece. And so this talks about the Virgo energy of, the analogy here is in a swimming race, or in this symbolism, when you're swimming, the energy here is more focused on how are you doing against the clock, as opposed to how's the other person doing in the lane next to me. I'm not really concerned about who I'm competing against. I'm really focused on myself and making the adjustments within myself that are required. So that's the energy here of this degree where Venus will be, which will be the ruler of this lunar eclipse, is what adjustments do you need to make? Are there people that are in your environment that can help you get there? That's kind of the energy I'm getting here too, is to kind of like look at yourself objectively and be able to say, okay, what have I held on to for a long time that I know is no longer serving me? So what ways can I make this better? And with these aspects to Venus, I was getting more that septile and that trine to Uranus, where I don't feel it more of a yang energy. It's more of a, it comes to you type energy is what I'm getting. More so, there is an awareness of the things that need to change. So that's what I have for you here with this lunar eclipse in Taurus. So thankful for your energy. Thanks for being here. And I will see you again in another podcast. Take care.